after the meeting tonight, make sure you stick around and see Tom Dooner. He's waving at you now. He'd love to talk to you real quickly after our meeting. Representative Goswami? Granted. So with that, commuter representative position is still open. Are there any nominations for commuter representative? It does have to be a first-year student. Okay, seeing none, those will remain open. For the open positions, if you do have nominations, please send them along to Parliamentarian Gladys. Representative Thompson? President Hale, do you have the oath ready on you? Yeah, we can certainly do so. Since there is no other old business, we'll move into new business. Vice President Brown.
Move to introduce Bill B 22-08 recognition bill. Second.
Okay. Oh, that's how it is. Vice President Williams.
Good evening. We're going to have a lot of fun with finance tonight. True story, actually. When Walt Disney was building Walt Disney World, he really wanted to name it It's a Financing World After All, or Financing GA After All, but he didn't. He changed it to It's a Small World After All. Apparently it was a marketing ploy. I don't know. But here we have Bill B 22-08. This is a bill to recognize additional student organizations. The only thing of note that I do hate to say this, we are going to have to stricken one of these organizations. What happens is that on Thursdays when these organizations come, or we review the organization finance committee, we make a recommendation, and sometimes they're missing one or two things, one or two of our kind of requirements. That, for example, they're missing a non-discriminatory clause in their constitution, or maybe they didn't exactly list 10 members on Spartan Link, even though it very clearly says they need 10 members. So I gave them the opportunity, National Students Speech, Language, and Hearing Association. I gave them the opportunity to give us an additional 5 names of members. They did not give those to us, so as such, they currently do not meet the organization requirements. So during discussion, they will have to be stricken. But other than that, Yarn Craft Club, they were recognized during last school year. They failed to get their documents in. And this is actually left over from 2 weeks ago, so that's my bad. And I'm open up to points.
Any points for the speaker? Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Vice President Williams. Is there a speaker in the con? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into discussion. We will have 2 minutes for discussion. Are there any points? Representative Shaw.
I move to strike from the Be It Resolved Clause 1, Section B, the National Student Speech, Language, and Hearing Association from Bill B 22-08.
Is there any objection to striking Be It Resolved Clause 1, Section B? Seeing, oh.
Will this also stricken it from the appendix?
Yes.
Okay.
We are striking things, not strickening them, as a point of information. But is there any objection to striking Clause B? Okay, seeing none, that amendment is made, and the appendix will be updated accordingly. Any other points for discussion? Representative Shaw.
Can somebody speak on the behalf of Jog Forward, or is it in here? Because I didn't see it, and I thought there was a association that was similar to what it sounds like it's promoting.
Any point on that? Does anybody know of a club that sounds similar to Jog Forward, or
The only, oh, sorry.
Treasurer Woodray?
Sorry. Anyways, what we got from the only other one that I can think of is the 121. They had the Runners Club, but that's open to the whole community and not just case specific. This is just like a case specific jog club, and none of us have really known. They've already promoted it, so maybe that's what you heard before. So they've already had events and stuff like that already.
Any other points for discussion on the bill?
Maybe that didn't continue to this year.
Representative Macedonia?
Yeah, I mean, on behalf of Jog Forward, I know the people who ended up like organizing it and everything. They seem to be really kind of on top of what they're trying to organize and trying to do. Like, I like was part of the Facebook group or whatever, and they were always like sending like, oh, event coming up this day or that day. So they seem pretty active within like the community and pretty networked pretty well. And it seems to be also like a well-being club too, not just like jogging. So haven't actually gone to any of their things, but I meant to. But yeah, that's what I know about it.
Okay, and with that, we've reached time for discussion. Is there a motion to extend? Vice President Brown?
This question?
Any objection to ending discussion? Seeing none, discussion is over, and we'll move into the vote.
Shall we inaugurate first?
Sure, we'll take a quick pause.
New reps to the front of the room. All you guys have to do is stand up there and smile. Yeah, just right in front. No, towards them. Yeah. Everybody stare. Okay, so to our 3 newest representatives, I feel like this is the earliest we've ever, like as close to an election as we've ever inaugurated. But please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear as a representative of the USG to responsibly represent my constituency to the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
I further promise to faithfully uphold
I further promise to faithfully uphold
the Constitution and all appropriate bylaws.
the Constitution and all appropriate bylaws.
As an elected representative to the USG,
As an elected representative to the USG,
I pledge to serve the students of Case Western Reserve University
I pledge to serve the students of Case Western Reserve University
with integrity and honesty.
with integrity and honesty.
Congratulations.
Okay, and jumping right back into where we were, we're now moving into the voting on Bill B 22-08. The voting is now open, so if you could please vote A, yes, in favor of passing Bill B 22-08, B, no, opposed, or C, to abstain. Okay, Bill B 22-08 passes. Any other new business before the Assembly tonight? Vice President Brown?
Move to introduce Bill B 22-09, rolling funding bill.
Vice President Williams?
Good evening. We have 10 requests made by organizations. Now request that you look at each one of them. One thing to note, sexual assault and violence educators did come in to appeal the decision. The Finance Committee funded thusly, so we have that there. And with that, I'm open to points.
Are there any points for Vice President Williams? Representative Tron?
Do you know if Big Game Clubs is doing laser tag as the only activity for their retreat, or is they doing something else?
So, to my knowledge, from the rolling funding request, it is a fun activity plus laser tag plus lunch kind of event. So, my understanding of the event from the funding request was that they would start out playing laser tag, having a good time bonding, and then settling down and going to play lunch. Not play lunch. Going to have lunch. Sorry, it's been a long day. They're going to go have lunch and talk and to use as their transitioning time. So,
Representative Thompson?
How many people are going to be
18.
Any other points for the speaker? Okay. Oh, Vice President Brown?
For the improvement retreat, they were funded $3 a person per food, so why is Big Games Club being funded more per person per food?
So if you look at the intent of, if you look at each of the intents in the way that they presented them to us, since Big Games Club is a retreat and since they are using it as a leadership transition tool, we have a little bit more flexibility since there is the game aspect to it. And since it is a little bit more of a full lunch rather than just snacks.
Any other points for the speaker? Okay. Seeing none, thank you, Vice President Williams. Is there a speaker in the con? Is there a speaker in the con? Okay. Treasurer Ridgway?
Okay, everyone. I'm just speaking the con on behalf of the improvement retreat, just because it is a retreat and they actually presented to us as a cookout, as just food for the whole thing. So, as Vice President Andrew Brown brought up, well, if we're going to be like congruent and homogeneous throughout our decisions, that we paid for the Big Games Club retreat, I think that it should be funded in full, just because it was, as in previous years, they were funded way over this amount. It was like 100, 120. So any points for me?
Are there any points for the speaker? Treasurer Payne?
Is the speaker whether if we funded using the precedent of the Big Games Club as $6 a person, it still wouldn't be full, it would be $60.
Okay, so I mean, just
Putting that out there.
yeah, I know what you mean. Just as it should, but then again, they also are having the laser tag with the aspect with it, and this they're just requesting for food.
Are there any other points for the speaker? Vice President Brown?
The date of the event is September 16th. Is that an incorrect date, or?
No, that's the correct date. They had trouble being re-recognized, so then it was just coming back to. They were, sorry. They're allowed to come back and ask for money. It's at our discretion if we want to fund the event. So it did happen on September 16th, and this is the exact amount they paid for.
Thank you.
Any other points for the speaker? Okay. Seeing none, thank you, Treasurer Ridgway. To alternate, is there a speaker in the pro? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into discussion. I'll set 3 minutes for an initial time limit for discussion. Are there any points? Representative Thompson.
Move to amend improvements amount allocated to $60 and redo the total allocated, whatever the appropriate amount will be.
Is there a second for the motion to amend the bill so improvement receives $60 instead of $30?
Second.
Okay, is there any dissent to that amendment? Okay, since there is dissent, we'll move into discussion specifically on that portion. So, any discussion items, this is limited to improvements and amending to give them $60 instead of $30. Any points for discussion on that? Vice President Williams.
I think one of the things to look at here is that improvement was not recognized at the time of either of these events. And so I think that we start to do a very dangerous precedent here if we start to have groups where it's, oh, we weren't recognized or we just became an organization, can you retroactively fund these events? And so I feel like this amount right here is a good amount to fund it, simply for the reason that we need to be careful that we're not funding these events that have already happened. I think that the rationale makes sense. Is so retreat. The fact that we're doing this for 2 of their requests, I think is a good. We're helping them out, but they also have the automatic $100 that they can also pull from.
Representative Thompson.
So I
Treasurer Payne?
Okay, I understand the point that was made about not wanting to set a precedent of retroactively funding groups. But if that's the case and that's what we want to do, I think we should either, not that I'm saying like this is what I want to do, but like either fund them nothing at all, so we're not setting that precedent, or I don't think the amount that we're funding them, if we're funding them anything, affects that, what like the precedent would or would not be.
Representative Choi?
I agree that we should either fund them all or nothing, because I know like even as a freshman who hasn't been here that long, there's already some organizations who are like, they know that like sometimes USG doesn't fund everything, so then they purposely ask for a lot more than they actually need. And then so if you give them half funding, maybe they'll always expect that you get 50% funding. So then they go, okay, we're not recognized, let's just ask for a really lot of money because we're actually expecting only 50% to be funded anyway.
Representative Christofferson?
Another thing to keep in mind is that the idea of setting precedent may be affected by the fact that improvement has been around for very long. So it's not like it's a new club that hasn't been recognized before. And it was recognized last semester, correct?
Yes.
So in reality, it was more of a bureaucratic issue than an issue of whether or not it has been recognized by Jay before. So the precedent wouldn't be as high.
Vice President Vaughn?
As a point of information, what did they list a specific problem as the reason for why they were not recognized or did not fill out the forms?
Vice President Williams?
Yes, I actually have the thing pulled up right here. We were only recently able to get re-recognized, so we missed the opportunity to apply for and receive MES funding. This is due to miscommunication about the re-recognition period last year. So this is what they gave us on their rolling funding request.
Okay, we've hit time for discussion. So right now there would be two motions in order, either a motion to amend the amount to be $0 instead of 60, or a motion to extend discussion. Otherwise, we'll move into the vote. So are there any of those two motions to be made? Representative Rooker.
Point of information, I thought that the motion that we were voting on right now was to amend it to 60, not 30.
So the motion's been made. Right now we're discussing amending to 60 instead of 30. So there are, where we're at, we can either move to extend discussion, or I heard there was this, a lot of people have mentioned giving them 0 instead of 60. We could also do that as well, because that would be an amendment to an amendment, and that's as far as it can go. But Representative Christofferson?
Point of information, could we make an amendment to fund them fully in the 74.98 instead of 60?
Yes. You could do so.
To amend the bill to fund them 74.98.
Could we, instead of having to do this amend game, could we just list 3 amounts and vote on the 3 amounts through runoff?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So I moved. Can I move to vote on this amendment through runoff for the 3 amounts of $0, keeping it as is at $30, and 60 and 74.98.
Yes. So that is the voting order we'll go with, as long as nobody objects to voting by runoff. Okay, so we'll end up voting by runoff by a few different amounts. Right now then, is there any motion to extend discussion on how much we're funding improvement for their event? Okay, since there's no motion to extend discussion, then discussion is over. The proposed amounts I have are funding in full for $74.98, funding $60, funding $30, and funding 0. So how this instant runoff voting will work is you'll vote A to vote for $74.98 full funding. So we'll do, repeated runoff instead of instantaneous runoff. My mistake on the name. So A will be for $74.98, B will be for $60, C will be for $30, D will be for 0. I apparently messed everything up. I apologize. But so those are the 4 amounts. Please vote for which amount you prefer to give. If one amount gets greater than 50%, that's the amount we'll reward. Otherwise, we'll remove the lowest and vote again. Okay? So this may take a few rounds. Bear with us as we go. But as soon as Parliamentarian Gladys opens voting, please vote now for the amount of money you'd like to fund improvement for their event. Conveniently, you may also vote E to abstain. Just enough buttons. Okay, none received a majority, but C received the least. So $30 is now off the table. The remaining amounts, and we'll keep them with the same letters. So again, you may begin voting now. A is for full funding, B is for $60, D is for $0, E is to abstain. C votes will be counted as abstentions, but please vote E to indicate you're abstaining. Okay, none still quite has a majority. Oh, this is the best situation. So, by instant runoff procedure, now we will vote between B and D to determine which we eliminate. Yes, because we have 3 options, none of them are above 50%, and the 2 lowest options are tied. And since eliminating them would declare a winner, we have to vote on which one of the 2 lowest options to eliminate. So, please vote now. You're voting between option B and option D to determine which one we're going to keep for the next round of voting, to be clear. So, option A will still remain for a future round to consider. But right now you're voting whether you'd rather keep option B or option D in the running to vote against option A. Welcome to the intricacies of running and voting. Okay, so option B is kept, so now... No, that's a majority to keep it as the option that's running against A. So now, as we're down to 2 options, we can settle this. So again, please begin voting now. Please vote A, yes, in favor of full funding, or B, to fund $0. E is still the proper indicator for an abstention. This is for the amount that will be on the bill.
This is the amending of the amendment.
Yeah, so if this one, this amount is approved and we ended discussion on the amendment. So this will be the amount that goes on the bill. Okay, and squeezing out a victory is A in favor of full funding. So, amounts go by actual percentages of people who vote yes and no, not abstentions. Abstention literally means that I am choosing not to vote, or I'm voting present instead of yes or no. A 50% majority is the votes of yes versus no. Yeah. So, the result of all that is that option A came out ahead in the final vote. So, improvements amount on the bill is now $74.98 for full funding. Okay. Is that clear for everyone? Is everyone good where we're at? We're going to move back into discussion on the full bill in a moment. Vice President Williams? So the amount on the bill that will be for improvement is $74.98. $74.98. That is official. That is the result of all the amending, and that will also be the number on the front of the bill for the totals.
Okay, let's say, so for those of you who are playing along at home, the new total should read totaling $1,865.98, and it's also very fun.
Okay. So now we would move back into discussion on the full bill. We're also at time for that. So if you would like to continue discussing the rolling funding bill and anything else about it aside from improvement, you could move to extend discussion now. If there's not a motion to extend, we'll move into voting. So is there a motion to extend discussion on Bill B 22-09? Representative McHenry?
I move to extend discussion by 3 minutes.
Is there a second? Seeing none, the motion is not introduced, and we'll move into the voting. So now we're going to vote to approve Bill B 22-09. As always, A is in favor of passing Bill B 22-09, B is opposed, and C abstains. Okay, so Bill B 22-09 passes. Thank you for bearing with us as we went through that little bit of voting hecticness. We are now back into new business. Is there any other new business before the assembly this evening? It is still a trick question. Vice President Brown.
Move to introduce Bill B 22-10, rolling funding bill.
Second.
Vice President Williams.
Hi. So the reason why we broke out the rolling funding bill into two separate, to 22-09, 22-10 will become apparent very soon. But this one's a little bit of a dicey one, so I'm going to walk through it briefly. Is for $215 out of the $300 allocated. So if you flip on the back, the group organization requesting it is the Nritya Dance Team. And to kind of give a summary of this event, since they are a competitive dance team, they have a competition coming up at Johns Hopkins University, and what this event is trying to do is to fundraise for that, so that then they don't have to come ask for rolling funding for the competition itself. So what they're trying to do here is to have an event that would raise funds for another event, if that makes sense. The Finance Committee discussed this at length. And we used the student organization handbook, and here I've actually provided some pages that we would have referenced. The committee did get hung up on how much of a ticket price to charge, or if at all they were allowed to charge a ticket. And so after consulting with Colleen on this one, what the two kind of conditions that we came up upon funding for this are, first, that the organization must actually provide a cultural aspect to this event, and that should include some sort of a dance performance because they are a dance team. The second is that per the student organization handbook, again page 12, the organization may not fundraise more than $286.67, which constitutes 1/3 of what they were funded. So what this is there to do is to help organizations, I guess maybe the better word is to prevent organizations from simply having an event and reaping all the and getting like all these profits back from it. So if they hold a $1,000 event and they gain back $2,000 from it, so they would get $2,000 back, which wouldn't be a fair thing. So that's why we cap it at 1/3. So with that, I'm open up to points.
Are there any points for the speaker? Representative Lake.
I'm just very curious as to the logic behind holding a fundraiser and not being able to fundraise fully. Even recap what you're being funded for, even raise more, considering the point of a fundraiser is to raise funds. Furthermore, if they are having, I just want to go back to the point, if they are having a cultural event and they are trying to fundraise money, why are we giving them money for a fundraiser, which they're not even going to be gaining back money for?
Okay, so to answer your first set of questions, this specific fundraising procedure is dictated by the quote-unquote large event section. So this is different than, say, if a group wants to hold a bake sale in Nord or Sears. Like, that is a different kind of a fundraiser because its intent is different. They're not selling tickets. So that's the first thing. The second thing here is that when you look at this, that we have been entrusted with the student activities fee, the purpose, in my opinion, the student activities fee is for the betterment of the student life on campus. And that what Nritya has done here is actually somewhat clever in that they're providing an event that many people can go to fund an event that only, say, 10 to 15 people can go to. So it's kind of clever. I'm not gonna lie there with what they did here. And on that, and kind of on that same note, the reason why that cap is put into place, or at least from my understanding of it, is that you want to make sure that groups are not kind of gaming the system on the student activities fee, because the student activities fee is, again, for the enjoyment of the entire student body. And so for a group to be profiting off of that, in my opinion and in the opinion of some VPs before me, that goes against what the fee is there to do. That profiting off of it is not what it's meant to be for. So, yes.
On that note, then, how come we do allow the 1/3 limit instead of saying you're not allowed to fundraise and profit off of an event that is given funding from USG?
We encourage fundraising because we recognize that we can't fund everything. That there are so many events that student groups want to hold, and there's so many expenses that, if you look at the total amount of money that is requested from us during mass funding, and that request is upwards of usually $300,000, $400,000, that these are events that the students would legitimately want to have, or we're pretty sure they would legitimately want to have, but we can't fund all of that because of our budget limitations. So the reason why we encourage that fundraising, and the reason why we do give them some seed money, or we do provide a little bit of seed money, is so that they can have those opportunities. So.
Other points for the speaker. Representative Christofferson.
Point of information. So if everything goes as planned with this bill, and everything goes well, and they do fundraise maximum amount, then is it true that we would only save USG would only save $71?
$71 from.
Because we'd have to subsidize, we'd have to give them 215, and then we'd have what the rest of the mass funding bill for their trip.
I am not going to speculate on that.
Representative Rooker.
So what happens if the 96th person comes to this event and they go over that 286.67?
For this one, I'm actually going to defer to Colleen. Colleen, would it be correct in assuming that the money would technically go back to the rolling funding, the allocated pool? So if for example, there would be the fundraising cap on the page of $286. If they got $300, we'll just say, where would that extra money go? Right. What we might do in that case is we might encourage them to lower the ticket cost slightly so that they don't risk that, but it would be something that would probably have to come before both Finance Committee and maybe Exec and probably maybe even Judicial Board just to get that interpretation, because I think that also has to do with Parliamentarian Glass's interpretation of that. Knowing also that this is a part of the Student Organization Handbook and not an official policy. But
Representative Shaw.
Colin, could you represent, or treasurer? No, but VP Colin. Would it be possible if you could highlight the differences between an event like this and perhaps a large cultural event which the representatives of that organization approach USG for funding for food and then charge a ticket price?
So when you have, we'll just take Korean Student Association,
Perfect,
for example. When they have a large event, their actual event costs will run upwards of $3,000 to $4,000, and USG again cannot fund that much money for the event. And so what happens there is that they get permission from either myself, the Finance Committee, or Colleen to charge a nominal ticket price. And what this ticket price is solely there to do is to make up the difference between what we've been able to fund, what they've been able to get, and then what they actually need for the event. So, for example, if we're only able to fund $2,500 of a $3,500 event, they would need to charge some sort of a ticket price to make up that next $1,000, or they were just being in deficiency with USG and in bad standing.
Representative Shaw.
So we're allowed to tell them, we enforce how much student organizations are allowed to charge for entry price to an event.
Absolutely, we are. If you look at the inception of the student activities fee way back when, one of the big parts of why it was funded is to prevent ticket sales almost in the first place. That ticket sales were something that students would continuously having to go into their pocket for event after event to pay for these great events, and it started becoming a deterrence for many students, because who wants to keep shelling out $10, $20, whatever it is for an event? So when the student activities fee was then created, it was created to help defray, if not eliminate, the ticket costs. The finance committee does look at the ticket cost, and we do try to discourage ticket costs as much as possible. And in fact, all ticket prices do need to get approved by the USG Finance Committee, and then in turn by the Assembly, should they choose to have oversight on that, in order to charge that ticket price.
Other points, Representative Thompson.
Maybe this was already talked about, but why wouldn't they just be better off getting $250 for their future event, and then they could raise however much money they wanted to?
I guess what I would answer, again, what I would go back to on that, and this is where I think they were being clever, that if you look at their actual competition that they're going to be going to at Johns Hopkins, that's technically only going to benefit maybe 15 students. And so if USG holds the student activities fee as being for the benefit of a large group of students, the fact that they're having an event that they're wanting a lot of students to come to, they did quote an estimated attendance of 100 students. As to whether or not they actually get 100 students, I think that's, again, I think my personal belief there would be no, but I think that it would at least go to more students than just the 15 that would be going on the competition.
President Hale?
To the speaker, does this 1/3 rule appear in our bylaws?
It does not, but it does appear in the student organization handbook, to which in the bylaws there's a bylaw, I forget exactly which one, but there is something that allows us to refer back to the student organization handbook as a set policy of the finance committee.
To the parliamentarian, as a point of order, is the student organization handbook a governing document for this organization?
I haven't thoroughly read it as I've read the other governing docs, which is why I think that if this is something we need to further discuss, I would want to take with the Finance Committee and the Judicial Board, so that the Judicial Board would have time to go over this document before we tried to make a decision on this.
Representative Choi?
Is the 1/3 rule only for the third of the expenses that USG funds, or is it total expenses of any event?
The way I interpreted the student organization handbook was that it is 1/3 of the cost that USG has funded for the event.
Okay, because I'm just wondering if they're since they expected to use $350, if they could fill in the holes of the $0 and use their own funding, and then bring their expenses up to $350 so that they can fundraise more. Would that be possible?
Again, I would, from my interpretation, and Taylor, if you go to tinyurl.com/USG SOH F12, USG student organization at handbook SOH, just SOH F12 or fall 2012. Bam. So you just all learned the shortcut to the coolest book in the world. If you go to page 12, to answer the President Hale's question, Article 7 in the funding bylaws does refer to a funding handbook. The Finance Committee shall maintain a student organization funding handbook, and this handbook shall contain a condensed and simplified version of the USG rules and regulations for recognized student organizations. So if you look right in here, it says ticket prices. It's the third bullet point down. Ticket prices should be kept as low as possible when fundraising is not a priority, ideally no more than $10. Note that undergraduate ticket prices must be lower than tickets for graduate students, faculty, staff, other non-CWRU persons.
Mr. Odensick?
I have a question. All right, Colin, I believe you said that in the bylaws it refers to the student organization handbook being a point of reference for the finance committee, yes?
Yes.
That does not say that it is a point of reference for the General Assembly. That's a big difference right there, I think. Because this is our decision, not the finance committee's decision now.
That would be true, correct. I mean, I'm going to defer to Parliamentarian Glass on that one. I redact what I just said.
I mean, that's true. So if you think differently, then talk about it in discussion. So.
Representative Toomey?
A more general point on the handbook is that it is created and dealt with primarily by the Finance Committee, and that it does not typically come up to GA, and GA does not actually have a major hand in shaping this document. So I would not see this as a governing document, and it is not specifically listed as a governing document for General Assembly. So it is a set of
Connor, I'm going to cut you off as this is not a point for the speaker. Please save it for open discussion. Are there other points for the speaker, questions for clarification? Representative Giannini?
Sorry. Could you clarify again the difference between a large event and a small event? Because I'm not fully understanding the difference between fundraising at a small event and a large event.
This is a case where this is something I'll admit that the student organization handbook is a little bit lacking in right now is the definition of different types of events, and further than what does the ticket price mean for each type of event. In this case, because we did not have a clear one-to-one correspondence between a small event ticket prices, the Finance Committee chose to look at the large event policy for the ticket prices. So the large event policy, the way that we have traditionally defined it is events that receive more than $1,000 or expecting more than 500 students. For this case, again, it was an instance where we chose to interpret, the committee by a vote chose to interpret it through this respect.
Are there any other points for the speaker? Any clarification questions, anything of the like? Vice President Brown.
On a technical note, because they're hoping to earn a profit off of this and we have a double negative in the underline, wouldn't that technically mean the student group could interpret that to mean that they could exceed the 1/3 limit? Just from the student group perspective, they could read that to read they may exceed the 1/3 limit of a total allocation amount because of the double negative included. So I understand the interpretation of the Finance Committee may not be that, but that is the way I'm reading it.
Oh my gosh, there's a knot in there. Oh my. Well.
Okay, so four points on interpreting the student organization handbook. That is, given to the domain of the Finance Committee. So for those interpretations, we'll leave it to Finance Committee. We can act independently of it as well at the same time. So keep that in mind moving forward. Any other points for the speaker, specifically keeping as focused as possible on what would affect your voting on this bill that you need clarified? Representative Flegman?
I just want to clarify the 1/3. The 286.67, that refers to 1/3 of the total cost of the event or 1/3 of the total cost that we're funding them?
1/3 of the cost that we were funding them. So I took $215, I divided it by 3, and I don't remember what that number is now. But then I added that to the $215.
Okay, so it's 1/3 on top of what we fund them, not 1/3 of what we're giving them.
Correct. Okay, so here they couldn't actually make more than $68, I believe it is. Here, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this at this point. What I would like to propose to do, because this event is not proposed until December, and because we do have GAs until then, I would propose tabling this until such time. Simply because, with the recognition that we do also have a budget that we need to talk about tonight, and that's going to take a little while. So, a little bit of time. So that's my final point. So with that, am I allowed to just self-end speaker in the pro?
You are.
I am self-ending this.
He is no longer open to points. To be official, is there a speaker in the con? Representative Huffman?
Okay, so I guess you guys already heard a lot about this one, but so I won't go into the backstory of who these people are, like what they need their money for. It's a competitive dance team. So I'm just gonna go through a few things that stood out to me as sort of like red flags, I guess. For one thing, I feel like this is just in general an inefficient use of funds. And it does say in the student org handbook that try to do things efficiently. I should quote that, but I didn't. Okay, but I'm sure you've noticed they originally requested $350 and they intended to earn $300, $3 a ticket times 100 people, which just seems kind of odd to me. And to me, it made it seem like this group didn't really think through the event a lot. And now with the $215 and the 1/3 thing, that stipulation, I feel like that's kind of weird. I'm also concerned about the details of this event. As Colin indicated before, the whole cultural element of this event was pretty much added in by finance committee. So when I first looked at this, it looked like it was just buying food and reselling it. And I am just not really, I didn't really hear from them in finance committee that it was a well-organized cultural event. So I feel like that's kind of thrown in by us, and I'm not really convinced that's gonna happen. And I would like more details before funding it. The other thing that no one talked about yet is we're funding pre-made samosas, and it does say in the student org handbook, items funded are not to buy then sell, that so student orgs don't just buy pre-made things and sell them back and make a huge profit and then just have a lot of money to work with that USG doesn't oversee as much. So I just feel like it's a matter of principle that we should not fund pre-made food to just resell. I don't think it's really concerning that this group will, I didn't say that right. I don't think this group is going to make $1,000 from their samosas. I just feel like it says it in the student org handbook. I know in the past we've decided not to fund things because they're pre-made food, and says it in the student org handbook. So I feel like there's no compelling reason to make an exception for them, especially because the event doesn't seem that well organized. And a last thing is that I actually am sort of concerned for the student org. They need this money for a competition, and I would much rather have them come into finance committee and ask for it directly or do a better fundraiser, because right now I just don't even think they're going to make back the money that they need, and I feel like it's wasteful. So that's about it. I feel like this has gone on a very long time, so
Are there
that's all.
any points for the speaker? Okay. Seeing none, thank you, Representative Huffman. Is there a speaker in the pro? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into discussion. I'll set 2 minutes for discussion. The couple things we could do with this right now in terms of motions are move to refer back to Finance Committee, move to table, or move to postpone indefinitely, which would basically be voting just to give it $0. Since there was a speaker in the con, I do want to point out that that option exists, or call the question to vote to try and approve or deny it that way. as the bill's author, to try and settle this maybe a more efficient way, Vice President Williams, I will give you the right to first motion if you have a motion you would like to make for how to handle it. If not, that's fine.
I would move to refer this back to Finance Committee.
Is there any objection to referring the bill back to Finance Committee? Okay. Oh. Yes.
Point of information. Okay, I objected. Now what do I do?
Okay, so if you have a point to make, you're welcome to make it now.
I think that we should call the previous question, only because, like the speaker in the con noted, the Finance Committee did add the thing about the cultural aspect, and perhaps it's just better to let the dance team think about this and then resubmit it, and with some thought going into it, because it seems like it was really kind of thrown together with a bunch of different people's thoughts. So.
Okay, since there's a lot of objection to referring back to committee, we will just move right into a vote on that. So, heading to the vote. Please vote A, yes, in favor of referring back to Finance Committee, B, no, opposed, or C, to abstain. If you vote no to not refer it back to Finance Committee, we are just back into discussion. So if you think this needs more time for discussion tonight, vote to not refer it back to committee, and then we'll move back into discussion. Okay, and the bill is referred back to committee. So if you do have more questions on it, please do see the finance team. And if you want to join in the discussion more, contact Colin about working with Finance Committee on that. Are there any other items of new business? Vice President Vaughn.
I move to open Bill B22-07 and also point of personal privilege.
Granted. Vice President Fitch.
Those of you on academic affairs that are coming to midterm study break, we need to go because we were supposed to already be there 10 minutes ago. So if you're coming tonight, remember you have to come to either tonight's or tomorrow's, and that'll count as your academic affairs committee meeting for the week. But leaving now.
So for those of you in academic affairs going to midterm study break, you are now granted leave to join Vice President Fitch on that. We are not voting on the budget. It has to be introduced and then tabled. Vice President Williams, the bill is introduced.
I promise this is the last finance bill tonight. This is, however, the one that we do need to talk about. So as Speaker McKee mentioned, because this is a document, this is a bill that changes how our internal structure works, i.e. our budget. This, by our operating bylaws, does have to be tabled. What I'm going to suggest is that tonight I'm going to go through a bunch of this stuff, through a bunch of points of the bill, and I would love to take questions tonight, and then I would encourage that we put off discussion until next time, simply for that you have time to go through and look at the budget in full. So kind of a couple things to point out. First, hopefully as you came in, you got this nice little sheet of paper. It has finance lingo written on it. So some of the big words that we throw out there are written on this sheet of paper. Please, if you do not get one, go out and get it tonight. This way, some of them seem a little bit obvious, like income or expenses, but just to put them into a USG context. So there's that. So first, I'm going to be looking at the Appendix A, and it has 6 tables on it, and it's page 1 of 1. So I'm looking at this page right now. I'm going to go through what these tables are. The first, the income table, this is all the money that we expect to receive. We receive it from 3 distinct sources. The first is our student activities fee income. So this is the money that we've been talking about. This is the money that we get to allocate. So this is the estimate of what we will receive for the spring 2013 semester. And then we have the internal and external rollover. So if you look at the internal rollover, I've estimated that at $5,000. And if you look all the way at the right-hand side of the page, there is how I got those numbers. And you'll notice that the estimated rollover does not on the income table it's 5,000. On the internal rollover estimating table, it reads as $2,886.93. The reason why these two numbers do not match up perfectly is simply because these are my musings. These aren't like this is for sure what we're rolling over, and we want to make sure that we are as honest as possible with this. The student organization rollover, you'll notice that there isn't really a table related to it. Over the past weekend, first, I would like to give a huge hand to Laura, treasurers Laura and Levi. They did a lot of work to come up with this number, so I applaud them greatly. They are awesome. Honestly, this whole system would collapse without them. But anyway, so $80,000 what we estimated for there. Go figure. Liabilities table, that's the money that we owe other people, but per our funding bylaws and operating bylaws, we never absorb this student account fundraise money. Looking at the category summary, all the expenses are to put into 3 distinct categories. The first is external. These are things that we try to have directly related to students, and we're trying to get back out into students. Internal is the money that we have to keep for internal purposes and for the running of our day-to-day. And operating is the things like media vision, for example, we have to pay, so that's for operating and for all these lovely copies and like the 5,000 trees that we've killed tonight. So that's that. So flipping over onto the back, we get to what you would typically expect out of a budget, and these are the expenses. So these are the expenses that we expect to spend. And it lists a description there for you in case you're wondering what something is. And of course, I'm more than happy to answer questions. So you'll notice one of the big things that actually happened this semester, mass funding was cut by $20,000, but rolling funding was actually increased then by $21,000. So the money's still there. It's just in different places. Over this past semester, we have found that groups tend to use rolling funding more than they tend to use mass funding. So give the groups what they want. The other thing, especially for new representatives or new students that you may not have heard about, is the Student Life Improvement Grant. You're often hear us refer to it as SLIG, because those are the initials. What SLIG is it's an opportunity for any student, any department to come to us and say, I want to make campus a better place. Here's how, and they'll give us the proposals. For example, newly elected Representative Mahmood mentioned the Greenie Safe Rides ride cell program. That was actually funded through a USG SLIG. So good job. So we contributed half of those costs, which that system costs roughly $22,000. So we contributed that from this SLIG. So other than that, amounts have been upped where necessary to account for our large income. So with that, I am more than happy to answer any questions.
Any points for the speaker? Representative Rooker.
So the student organization rollover, is that coming from money that has already been allocated to student organizations? Or what is that?
So how it works is that during this semester, we will have allocated $182,000, I believe, to student organizations total. And the fact of the matter is that student organizations simply do not spend it all. And so what we have done here, and one of the things that it's one of the hardest parts of our budget, is that we have to try and account for how much money was not spent this semester. And if you look, we're only in October, and we're trying to project for the next 3 months, 2 months, I guess it is. So with the student organization rollover, this is money that was allocated to them but was not spent. So for example, this can kind of come from 2 different places. They either just simply don't hold an event where they say they're going to hold this event, they don't, or it could come from they say we're going to spend $1,000 in food, they go under budget and they only spend $750. So those are kind of where our student organization rollover comes from.
Representative Huffman.
Okay, this is really minor, but does Compass still exist?
Compass is starting back up. And Compass has requested these funds so that they can get their feet off the ground, and Exec feels that it is an appropriate use of the money.
Other questions for the speaker? Representative Sarda.
So one of the services that we are proud to provide for our student organizations is helium tanks for balloons. And as you know, for the longest time, helium was actually a $50 line item in our budget, but we're running out of helium apparently. So helium is actually becoming harder and harder to find, and because we can't technically go on the black market to find it, we have to still purchase it legally, and the price has gone up, so this is accounting for that. And it is a service that we do provide for our student organizations free of charge.
Mr. Densick?
I'm just curious, I'm not seeing it on here, and I'm curious to know if this idea ever panned out last year. I don't know if you ever gave it a name, but like the internal USG SLIG idea, did that ever pan out? Because I'm just not seeing it on here. I'm curious whatever happened to that.
Last semester, or I guess spring 2012 semester, yes, that line item was on there. It was not really used, and it was also something that we added last minute as a method to get rid of our increased rollover. So it may come back. If you notice, for example, in the actual budget part, the actual bill part of this budget, one of the kind of requirements is that we do review this within 2 weeks of receiving the student activities fee, and that we review it, and that the internal SLIG may come back. But the internal SLIG was meant, like for example, we bought our USG digital camera with that, and we bought a new projector for us to use. So, oh yeah, and card swipers. Wait, those weren't ever purchased. Oh yeah, sorry, the door, the new magnetic locking door that gives people problems, that was purchased.
Other points
But
for the speaker?
contact President Hale if you want access.
Mr. Dunier?
Question about so if that money was not spent, then that rolled over, like, is that reflected anywhere on the budget, or is this only looking at student organization rollover?
Are you talking about the internal SLIG?
Yeah, for instance that, or.
That was since that would have been rolled over to fall 2012, that would have already been accounted for.
Other points for the speaker? Representative Giannini?
I apologize if I'm harping on like a small issue, but why do we offer helium and not like other services that would be like comparably helpful for organizations?
You know, that we don't know. That's something that's always been there. Groups like balloons.
I mean, just to follow up, doesn't the university provide balloons that you can pay for? Isn't there like a service through Twing?
That is actually through student activities and leadership. Helium. Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is that when you pay for balloons through student activities and leadership, you also have to pay for the balloon itself, and you have to pay for all that. This way they can just buy the balloon themselves around their allocated money and then use the helium.
Other points for the speaker? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Vice President Williams. Is there a speaker in the con? Seeing none, we'll move into discussion. I'll set an initial 3 minutes for discussion, keeping in mind that this bill will need tabled to be reintroduced later. Representative Thompson. Yes. Representative Thompson. Is there a second for that motion? Seeing none, the motion is not introduced. Are there other points for discussion? Representative Christofferson. Is there any dissent to tabling Bill B 22-07? Okay, seeing none, the bill is tabled. Okay. Are there any other items of new business that I happen to be forgetting? Don't think so. So seeing none, we will move out of new business and into committee reports. President Hale for the Executive Committee.
Good evening, GA. It's gonna be a marathon one. Give yourselves a round of applause, pat yourself on the back, whatever fits your fancy. Great administrator speed dating. I've gotten a lot of responses from administrators that they enjoyed the time and valued it a lot, so great job. I don't get to be there. Okay, nobody clapped. I don't get to be there because I have a class, and I can't apologize enough for always showing up late to GA. but to hear that it went so well. And a special thanks, of course, to Dan Giannini, who handled all the logistics, all the fine food you were eating, and Mr. Gallo, who kept the things going at the event. So, woo-woo. Two things coming up that you guys should already be aware of course, Pizza Olympics and the Student State of the University address. Swami already told you about Pizza Olympics a little bit, but I feel like where'd he go? Oh, well, he's no longer here, but he's very deserving of some accolades, I guess. We've gotten an incredibly positive response from vendors. I don't know if he told you the way it works is vendors give us pizza. We hand it out for free to more than 1,000 students who come through a Delbert Gymnasium. Gives us a lot of good PR, gives students a good time, and then they get a vote and decide what the best pizza on campus is, and that vendor gets some perks. But he's gotten a huge response from vendors that we didn't get in previous years, so he's doing a great job and really taking a lot of work off Colleen and I, who are helping out with the easy stuff, the logistics, instead of having to work with all these pizza vendors. So if you see him, give him a pat on the back, shake his hand, say thanks. The other thing, Student State of the University address. I don't know if you guys checked out the moderator forum. We had 25 questions with almost 500 votes. It works like Reddit. You could vote up or down ideas to get them on the list. This morning, I emailed the top 10 questions to President Snyder, and she, of course, agreed to address them. So get excited for the State of the University address. We'll also be having a short session of GA to handle the budget during that time, since we'll all be together anyway. It's Tuesday the 30th, the Tuesday after break. So just anticipate that's when we'll be discussing the budget, so come prepared. And one note, exec sort of falls in an awkward place where our committee meeting is yesterday on Mondays, but the report for the committee is due on Sunday for the agenda today. So there's some things that happen on Monday that we miss for the report. And one of those is the business we're going to be looking at for the rest of this semester. I anticipate you noticed in the budget that we're having another big rollover. And given that this is a second year of having almost half of our budget rollover, exec is now going to divert a lot of attention to finance. And me personally, I'm trying right now to define the scope of that discussion, I guess, putting all my project management classes to work. But I'm interested in knowing what ought to be on the table for those discussions, whether it's a matter of our customs for funding, how funding is handled in GA, how funding is handled in Finance Committee. Those of you who are connected to student organizations, go ask and find out. But let us know what we ought to be talking about, because we are not, I feel like exec is so connected with our internal operation, we lose sight of what goes on outside, and I'm hoping you guys can help us bridge the gap there. So please go talk to orgs, members of orgs, find out what's going on so that we can have some direction going forward. But just trying to define the scope right now, I don't know what we'll actually do. With that, I'm open to points.
Are there any points for President Hale? Representative Carmeyer?
What does this thing in your report about the questions posted by the Board of Trustees?
Oh, cool. So I don't know if you know, okay, never mind. Thalia Dorwick, who's the chair of the Academic Affairs and Student Life Committee of the Board of Trustees. I got to talk with her while the board was in session, the committee was in session a couple weeks ago, and she asked this organization to address a few questions or provide student input on a few questions that the board was looking at. So those are the 3 questions she posed and that exec is currently tackling. So there's a milestone in 2 weeks for that, and then folks' sort of conclusions, I guess, are due by the end of the semester so that we can give some pretty concrete and well-developed student opinions regarding those questions to the board before they meet in January again. Does that answer your question?
Other points for President Hale? Okay, seeing none, thank you, President Hale. Student Life, Vice President Vaughn.
Okay, like James, we also have committee on Monday nights, so everything isn't updated, and actually it says that our next committee meeting is yesterday, so that's incorrect. We won't be having committee next week because it's fall break, And our next meeting is Monday the 29th, if you want to come join us. It's at 6 p.m. in the USG office. That's a Monday, by the way. And I also wanted to let you know, the moderator, like James was talking about for students staying at the university address, we have one for just general student life or general issues, including IT as well. But general issues that students have. Yesterday, the Student Life Committee went through all of them, figured out which ones were applicable to our committee, and are starting to work on them. Just to highlight a few that have already been highlighted by some of our newly elected reps, we are working with Dick Jameson on helping to fix the Greenie prediction times. And we are also started working on the commuter lounge to help improve that. And then this week I would like to highlight one of our representatives who was able to be very effective in the past 2 weeks. I know that she got some Snickers based off her project at our last GA, but I can tell you that we've been very, very effective. And we have new bike signs on the binary walkway, and she's continuing to work on bike paths for the university. She's done a great job, done her research. So Mary Kate Macedonia is the student life representative of the bye week. So we can get you a Mr. Goodbar or Skittles or something. So I'm open to points. Yes.
Representative Legman.
Just on your list, you have a meal plan cost breakdown. What exactly are you going to be detailing, and when can we expect that report, if you have an estimate on that?
Yeah, so we are working with Beth Nakomovich. Well, unfortunately, we haven't worked with her yet. She's been a little bit hard to get in contact with, but I emailed her today and invited her to our student life meeting because we have 4 initiatives, actually, that deal specifically with her in her title. Specifically for meal swipes and different options, whether it's in the Jolly Scholar, in L3, or just in general what the different breakdown is for that. But for that, basically we're going to see exactly where all the money for, or the plan is to see exactly where all the money for, from where you pay for your meal swipes go to, whether it's to pay workers, to pay for food, transportation, whatever it is, we are working to get that broken down.
Any other points for the speaker? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Vice President Bond. Is there?
Personal privilege.
Grant. Finance, Vice President Williams.
I'm gonna stay here. You guys are probably sick of hearing my voice. I am too. So just some quick points. Mass funding is coming up soon. Mass funding is currently the time when all the groups say, we want money. And the USG says, okay, tell us exactly what you want, and we'll think about it. And we'll try and give you as much as we can. So the outline for the dates are right there. The biggest date to note, though, is Sunday, November 10th. Okay? If you know that date exists, I want you to go ahead and put it in your calendar now and leave it open, because you are all hereby officially invited to come help out with mass funding. Here's the best part. You don't have to have any finance experience to come help. You can literally just walk in and help us look up prices on Amazon to see, do they really need $3,000 for a lacrosse school? The answer is probably not. They can probably get one for $210. Who knows? So anybody is welcome. You're all personally invited, and there's free food, so that's all good. Other than that, I am open up to points.
Mr. Dooner.
November 10 is a Saturday.
It's actually a Sunday. No, sorry, 11th. I'm sorry. It should be Sunday, November 11th. I do apologize. So, yes, clear out the 11th, not the 10th.
Other points for the speaker? Okay, thank you, Vice President Williams. Vice President Gallo for PR.
Hey guys, what's your favorite committee report? All right, so happy Tuesday. So I don't know about you, but I'm excited for the USG flag football game that was supposed to start half an hour ago. Actually, we are having a game tomorrow, though. The game today was canceled, obviously. Did you ever find out, I am Chair Representative Sarda, what time the game was yesterday? Or tomorrow, I mean. I've been here way too long. I'm sorry. Okay. So I'm sure you guys all heard he'll send out a reminder email. which is really fun. You don't need to know how to play football. We're not expecting to win. We're just expecting to have fun. So show up with a good attitude. So, you know, PR committee's just been working on random things, mostly the newsletter. I don't know if you guys have been looking at that, reading at that. It's pretty cool, I guess. So if you have any suggestions of what you would like to see in it or just any improvements in general, feel free to talk to anyone on PR committee or email newsletter@case.edu because that gets forwarded to my inbox so then I can read it. So yeah, just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Intramural and philanthropy shirts have been ordered, which is exciting, I know. Also, for 2 things for external PR, we're participating in Halloween at Home and Halloween in Twing. If you want more information on that, find us or ask me. I just don't want to keep you guys here too much longer. And committee meeting time Wednesday in House 5, first floor at 8 to 9 p.m. Office hours this Friday from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the USG office. And before I turn it over to Representative Torres and Stefan Christofferson, Representative Stefferson. I'm sorry. Fun fact, on Sunday, October 14th, Felix Baumgartner jumped from the edge of the stratosphere, which is 24 miles up, in an attempt to break Mach 1, which is the speed of sound. According to preliminary data, he reached 833.9 miles per hour, or Mach 1.24. So, yes, he broke the speed of sound, which is cool. You know, just be a little cultured, so that's my fun fact for you guys. And now, so you know what you're playing for Rep Spotlight? It's Reese's Pieces and Twizzlers. I thought I'd throw in some chocolate this week. Or no, peanut butter. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I'm leaving. Is there any points?
Are there any points for Vice President Gallo?
No, they're just peanut butter.
Okay. Seeing none, thank you.
All right, hold on. All right, so wake up, guys. Get excited because you're going to get some candy if you know your fellow USGers. All right, so our first rep here, they chose Case because it felt right. And once again, well, I didn't really. Once again, if you want to go ahead and see who's raising their hand first. Speaker McKee, right? No, I know, but if you could take care of that for me. All right, their favorite game to play as a child was hide and seek. If they could witness any event, past, present, or future, it would have been the 2008 World Series. So perhaps a baseball fan. After Case, they plan on grad school. Pretty generic, right? I'm just kidding. If they could paint a picture of any scenery they've seen before, it would be the Philadelphia skyline. So.
Representative Thompson.
Correct. Congratulations. Which one? All right. Go ahead.
All right. Now, who likes Twizzlers? Anybody? Okay. All right. Now, this representative's favorite type of music is a little bit of everything. And if this representative could view any event, past, present, or future, it would be world peace. Any takers? No? And this representative wants to make the big bucks after college.
Hold on, Representative Thompson.
Close, but no Twizzler. The favorite game of this representative as a child was Cops and Robbers. And if this representative could paint a picture of any scenery, it would be the beach at sunset. And this representative likes getting to serve our fellow students the most about USG. This is going on long. And the most influential person in this most influential the most influential person in this representative's life is Barack Obama. No takers, no takers. All right. This representative major is biochemistry.
Vice President Vaughn.
Yes. Nice job. Nice job of snapping for your snout.
All right, and just because we're new at this, I forgot to, and he's gonna follow up after me. But some other interesting facts, because we all want to learn more about Representative McHenry, right? So we left off at grad school, Philadelphia skyline, right? So what they like best about USG is all the friends he's made. Most influential person in his life is his mom. He's from Yardley, Pennsylvania. Did I pronounce that correctly? Yep. He's a computer engineering major. He enjoys music, swimming, video games, music, all kinds, but recently electro and house. So if you want to make him a mixed CD. Campus involvement outside of USG, varsity swim and dive team. And can you guess what his favorite flavor of ice cream is? Chocolate chip cookie dough. All right? So you learn something new about a representative every day.
All right, and then let's just follow up with parliamentarian Gladys. She was born. Her hometown is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She enjoys running, singing, and watching movies. Outside of USG, she is involved in concert choir, sorority, and religious group. And she chose Case Western because she wanted to get away from home. And that is everything, actually. Oh, wait. What do you think your favorite type of ice cream is? No? It's chocolate. All right, we'll have a good GA.
Hey, up next is Vice President Brown for Information Technology.
Hey guys, so most of the stuff is in my board report. So I just want to give you guys a quick update on, so all you guys love our printing services on campus is what I keep hearing between the feedback form and talking to you guys. I get nothing but accolades. But both Representatives Stump and McHenry met with Joel Kraft last week before administrative speed dating. And they discussed with him one of the big discussions they had with him was proper implementations of new printers on campus. So that discussion is in the works, and you should expect new printers on campus sometime soon, as well as there is a new printer in Wade, but this may or may not be the type of printers that you can expect to see when the new printing system is implemented. So open to points.
Any points for the speaker? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Vice President Brown. Up next, Taryn is not here and Academic Affairs is away doing midterm study break, but information is in the report. To take note, there is midterm study break going on now, and it's also tomorrow from 8 to 10 p.m. So if you're open, especially tomorrow from 8 to 10, please head to KSL, help out with midterm study break. Taryn and Academic Affairs would love to have your help. Moving along to other officer reports from the treasurers.
Hello, everyone. Just a short report this week. Our office hours are actually right this week. And just so you all know that if you're a recognized group, you are tax exempt, technically. So if you use a P card, it automatically tax exempt you because the code's on the card. But if you want to buy something, just ask and we'll give you the code. And so when you ask us to reimburse something, you don't have to pay taxes. Yay. That's all.
Oh, no, wait. Also, I just want to say, if you have friends or are you making purchase requests, remind them they have to print them out, not just put them on Spartan Link, because there's like 70 in there that we don't have paper copies of, and people are going to turn them in all at once, and I'm going to get angry.
Yay.
Are there any points for the treasurers? Vice President Williams.
Are the treasurers aware that there's actually a stack of tax-exempt forms up by the USG mailboxes?
That's true too. I forgot about that. And Colleen? Oh. So don't listen to that.
They will disappear shortly.
Oh, okay.
Are there any other points for the speakers? Okay, seeing none, thank you, treasurers. On to me. I have a couple of things. My office hours are listed. Obviously, I'm not going to be here over fall break, or maybe not obviously, but I won't be here, so if you need to meet with me, just send me an email. Take a look at my speaker's suggestion to keep with some alliterative thing for my position. The short and long of it is think about where you want to be involved next year. It's kind of early. I know probably most of you haven't started thinking about it yet, but it's never too early, and it's the worst that'll come of it is you learn more about a position you might like to hold in the future. Two other points on tonight. Since there was some confusion about things that happened at certain points, if you are confused at all about anything that happened procedurally or at all during the meeting, please come and see myself, Parliamentarian Gladys, or Vice President Williams. We'd be happy to help you. If you're not sure to ask me. I'll point you to the right person. And second point on that is thank you all for sticking with us and staying focused through some of those tough discussions. I know it's not easy all of the time, especially on certain finance things, but really proud of you all for sticking with everything as we kept going. Other than that, I'm open to points. Seeing, Representative Huffman.
Why does USG like theme GA so much yet insist on business casual every other day? It seems inconsistent to me. That's all.
Well, think about it. We normally keep business casual, but like to, dress down every so often. So, moving along in the agenda, we're into open forum now. Are there any points for an open forum discussion tonight? Do it during announcements. I'll call you first. Okay, seeing none. Oh, Vice President Callan. Okay. Advisors report. Colleen, anything from you?
I have no report.
Okay, into announcements. Vice President Callan.
Yeah, if you guys want to stay like an extra hour afterwards, I'm just going to talk about nothing, so. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so if you want to actually talk to your friends about USG Moderator, which is a really cool platform that we're PRing right now, there's already over like 50 or 60 submissions and over 1,000 votes total. Just let them know that we do look at that, we do value their opinion, and they can also win one of 4 $20 Panera gift cards, so nice thing. Thank you.
Secretary Digby.
Okay. One, if you recently were elected, you are probably going to want a name placard, so please come to me after the meeting. Also, if you don't know where yours is, if it got lost or something, like mine, please also see me after the meeting. Also, if you want a wrong topic. You probably saw in the meeting about the secretary's secret. Strangely enough, VP Williams actually already figured it out, but in his boundless generosity, he's going to let somebody else get the gift card. So, if you figure it out, tell me. Also, I'm going to make them harder, because I don't want him to figure them out so fast. That's it.
Any other announcements? Representative Beckman.
I'm going to try and make this really quick, because I sent out a rather lengthy email before. I've been working with James to advertise for the Student State of the University address. And so I just wanted to remind you guys to look at the sign-up sheet that I made, that I sent out in the email for class announcements and dorm storming. We really want it to be a successful event and well-attended. And also, second note, I do have flyers, so if you all could come and grab one maybe at the end of GA, and you can either use them in your class announcement, maybe post them on your door, that would be fantastic. Thanks.
Other announcements? Treasurer Ridgway.
At 10 o'clock tonight, there is an event called Nacho Tuesday, and you should go there. And it's at Sigma Nu. If you don't know how to get there, it's just a little pixie dust, and you go second star to the right and straight on to morning. Because it's Peter Pan. Just kidding.
Other announcements. Representative Christofferson.
I just want to say that Phi Delta Epsilon is going to be selling tickets for the Children's Miracle Network banquet that happened on November 8th. They're going to be $10, and once you buy a ticket, you get entered into a raffle to win like a free Kaplan course, which costs like thousands of dollars. So we'll start selling tickets October 29th.
Other announcements. Representative Tron.
Just so GA is aware, next Wednesday from 1 to 4 in Hovoka Atrium, the Arts and Sciences Caucus is handing out hot chocolate / apple cider, just, to put our names out there to our constituencies. So if you guys have time, just stop by.
Other announcements. Representative Sarda.
The game tomorrow, the USG flag football game is against SIGEP and Delta Gamma at 7:30 p.m. at Van Horn Field. So be there at 7:15ish and wear black.
And just to clarify, there's only 2 SIGEPs on the team, so don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we can take them. It's fine.
Any other announcements? Secretary Digby.
Sorry, I forgot to add on. I said I would give out a hint about the secret. The numbers correspond to letters.
Parliamentarian Gladys.
Okay, so I'm in FIMU, and our philanthropy event is coming up. It's called Hoopapalooza. It's actually on November 10th. That's a Saturday. And I know it's like a month away from now, but I'm not really sure when the next time I'll have the opportunity to announce it is. So it's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. So you should all think about signing up.
Okay, one quick announcement from me. I know, as President Hale said, there will be a short GA session 2 weeks from now, right after Student State of the University address. The only topic that we're going to address then is the budget. So stay tuned for more info about that. Other announcements. Vice President Brown.
I just want to give a big kudos to all the USGers who participated in HVZ this year, because we ended up in 3rd place overall for the entire campus. So good job, you guys.
Vice President Gallo. Representative Sarda.
If you would like to sign up for any philanthropy events, please email me, as funding for that can be funded through USG.
Representative McHenry.
Move to adjourn.
Is there any objection? Vice President Gallo.
Sorry. I was just going to say, Hoopapalooza is actually being co-sponsored by USG, and it's a great event to go to. Executive committee is throwing their support behind it. And with that, I would like to move to adjourn.
Any dissent? We're adjourned.